All this signifies is that Google beforehand had a monopoly, an absolute monopoly. There was not really a reason to use anything else. At the end of the day, Google could do it all or could do it better. The only real reason that they weren't getting total search dominance was people would use something like DuckDuckGo, which had privacy, right? Or a Brave browser, pieces like that. Welcome to the Tech and Tea Podcast. I'm your host, Gav Blacksburg, here today with Alex Finn and Penny2X. And today we are going to be talking about Google, and more specifically, is the search giant that shaped the internet. By the way, I am older than Google, fun fact, just by a little bit. Is the search giant that shaped the internet losing, after 26 years, losing its grip on search and on its major categories that it has forever just been the stalwart of? This really is coming over the last 2 weeks. We got testimony. This came from Apple, I believe, from their team, that here was the details. Searches in Apple's Safari browser fell for the first time in April, something that has never happened in 20 years, said Apple executive Eddie Q. Also, I believe that there were similar concerns highlighted by Cloudflare. Google stated that they're not declining the same way, that they didn't have that fall like for the first time in 20 years, but there's a little bit back and forth on if they're telling the truth there. But one thing seems clear, there's a lot more tailwinds than there ever has been for search, but there's a lot more to the company. So there's a whole bunch to unpack here and unpiece. Let's get right into it from the top. Yeah, Alex, you want to kick into it?
Well, you said tailwinds, you meant headwinds.
No. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I
gotta make sure we get the wind correct.
The head seems good to me, like headwinds. You know what I'm saying?
No, you want the wind at your tail, your ass.
You want the wind in your tail, your ass. Unless you're trying to go backwards, but you know what I'm saying. Keep going.
Yeah. I'm bullish on Google. I think traditional search is going to be less, but few companies have had made more investments, I think, in for the future than Google has. I mean, they bought DeepMind. They have all these other really large AI companies. And I think finally we're starting to see Gemini take the lead in a lot of different AI tests. I know, as someone who programs 8 hours a day using AI, Gemini Pro 2.5 is like the best coding model.
I don't trust Gemini.
What's that?
I don't trust Gemini.
Why don't you trust it?
I don't trust its answers because there's a lot of things that are made up on the internet, and Gemini loves pulling from just like articles and things written on Google and just using it as fact. And it just so often feeds me incorrect information. It doesn't think for itself.
Isn't that what all the AIs do, though?
I find that other AIs, well, one, Grok's obviously very different, where it's trained on the kind of like that real-time data. But I just feel like some of the others have gotten better at sorting what is just complete bullshit that people are spouting. And Gemini just takes it and just presents it as fact.
Yeah, Grok's trained on the real-time data plus whatever the system prompt is. But Gemini, you're right. And I think those are things that can be ironed out. Like I think it's a global issue with all the AIs when it comes to answers. But from a pure decision-making standpoint and a pure thinking like a human and communicating with human standpoint, Gemini Pro is revolutionary 2.5. And like, I feel like from a coding, if it's really good at coding, like code is just like logic. Code is just how people think. If you can get really good at coding, you can figure out the vibe stuff after. And I've been blown away by what Google's been doing lately with it.
Yeah, I don't think they're in any trouble from an AI perspective. I think, they got an early start on AI and they may have fallen behind a little bit at one point, but all signs are that they've caught up and that they are the state of the art model now. So I think Google is in a really good position from that point of view. I also think that's not the only industry they're in, right? Like they're making quantum chips, right? They're making robots. They're making self-driving cars. They're doing all sorts of things that are going to help propel them into the future. But that doesn't save them from the fact that right now, most of their money comes from search, right? And I am regularly finding things that I would have found using Google search a different way now. I'm doing it using AI. So like I was even looking for the best coffee shop in a neighborhood today. And there's a few ways I would have done that before. I would have either done like a Google search or like maybe I would have pulled up Yelp. But now what do? I go straight to deep search on Grok. and I'm like, look up coffee shops in a neighborhood. Boom, it finds them. It can even search through all the reviews and find the ones that talk about having a nice view or a certain type of coffee you like, and it returns it right there for you. And it took, like a minute, right? So the experience is totally different than using search, but the results were much better. So if they now have this product that basically the entire company was built on, the way that they were able to fund this AI stuff, this robotics, like none of those companies are making money yet, right? They will in the future, but the only way that they were able to build those things to begin with was with the money that they made from search. And now I have a feeling that that is going to be cranked down quickly. And it just becomes a matter of how quick can they capitalize and turn their other businesses into moneymakers. And I think that's, really what the big question is.
Well, we can take a look at some of the pieces here. And I do think that long term, I remain bullish on Google for two reasons. One, just where it's at right now, talking to the stock, it's lagging to where a lot of the rest of the large cap companies in the S&P 500 are, right? You just had, NVIDIA kind of shoot back up essentially to all-time highs. Not quite all-time highs, but it's above its 200-day SMA, right? When you look at Google, it's still lagging below its 200-day simple moving average. It had that fall a week ago, which it's recovered from that pullback. But here's just some of the pieces that are going against it. But again, I don't want people to think that I'm anti. I think that the company still has a great hold on life. It's really hard to phase out something that's become such a verb and so synonymous. But it does matter what we're seeing with AI. So just to go through a couple of the pieces here, they did have their market share dip below 90% for the first time ever since 2015. So that's a decade, right? That fell below 90% for the last 6 of 7 months ending 2025, hovering around 89.73%, right, in December. And this also was even further accelerated in Asia. I believe it dropped down to 87.39% right there. So you have a couple of these things. And what this just signifies, like, why does this matter, right? Oh, well, they were 1% below 90%. Congrats. All this signifies is that Google beforehand had a monopoly, an absolute monopoly, right? There was not really a reason to use anything else. At the end of the day, Google could do it all or could do it better. The only real reason that they weren't getting total search dominance was people would use something like DuckDuckGo, which had privacy, right? Or a Brave browser, pieces like that. You had Safari, which was kind of built into Apple. But for all intents and purposes, there wasn't necessarily a better product unless you were, a privacy concerned person. Now, I think the argument is there's potentially a better product to accomplish what Google was doing. And so that's really what I want to discuss with you guys is, are these things better? Is Google going to be able to integrate enough to catch up? Or are they just going to start losing people? Plus, you have really our generation, I would say, of my generation, that has moved into using social media as a search tool as well, instead of just searching online. Like, if I want to know something happening in real time, I don't go to Google necessarily because they're not going to have it for a day. I can go to X and search it on X. Like when Tatum got, injured the other night, Alex, I didn't go to Google injury. I went to X and I said Tatum injury, and it showed me, videos. So that's
don't remind me. Why do you keep reminding me that?
Well, that was I had to plan that to work that into the conversation.
You're just trying to piss me off.
Yeah, well, I like when you're pissed off. Come on, let it out. What's your thoughts here? Google losing dominance?
Well, I also think the demise of search is greatly overstated. I think the people who have replaced Google searching with Perplexity or whatever, like even going to ChatGPT, is minuscule. I think it's only the most technical of people. I think if you go to the 80% of the world who's not super technical, I would bet their Google habits haven't changed at all. Right. And so, yeah, maybe they've dipped a little bit because the most technical of people might be using AI. But like, if I'm looking for the best coffee shop around me, I'm still opening up my Google Maps app and just doing best coffee around me. Like, I think that's the way it is for a majority of people. And I think when we do eventually get to the point where the search in AI is not only much more powerful, but also much more is so easy that the habits of the people have changed with it, that like Google already have found 10 different other ways to take market share. Because also keep in mind, this isn't a zero sum game, tech. This isn't zero sum, right? As AI introduces new efficiencies and new value adds, the pie grows with it. And so, yeah, there might be less people searching, but they're also gaining in all these new industries and all these new product lines when it comes to AI, because they have the most money behind AI, because they have the most people behind AI, right? I think they're going to also be really good at building the pie faster in other ways other than straight up, what are good sandwiches near me, right? So I think that's another way where, they might not have a monopoly as much on search anymore, but they're building all these strongholds in other areas.
I do think that they're building out a lot of other healthy businesses, but search has been such a powerhouse for money, right? And if you think about it, how do they make money on search? You type in, what's the best coffee shop near me? And it shows 5 different coffee shops at the top that all suck, but they paid money to show up at the top, right? And then you scroll down, and we've all developed a habit where we know to scroll right by the sponsored ads, even though all the sponsored ads, like, you can barely even tell that they're sponsored now. They hide it so well, right? But we scroll right by the sponsored ads and we go to the whatever ranks the highest naturally. Now, if, for example, an AI responded to us like that, we would just go use another AI. Like, no one is going to sit there and let an AI read a bunch of ads to them before, like, they'll buy Spotify Plus. They'll buy whatever version of the AI doesn't have the ads.
We may get there. We may get there.
So anyway, I think that what they need to work on is figuring out how to monetize the rest of their businesses before their search revenue goes to hell. I think that a big transition will happen when you can push a button on your phone, and the same way that you would normally talk to Siri, you talk to ChatGPT or Grok or something like that. And if you can get a voice search with an answer that's really good and no ads, no one's going to pull up Google for anything anymore. And I just don't think they're going to put ads in that and have it be successful in the same way that they did on the web. That's
It's interesting. It's going to, in my opinion, take some time. There'll be a crossover. I do believe that if there was a AI, browser that got enough traction that they could put some of those ads in, but some of those ads are getting hilarious. I went to look up, Alex, actually, I think this was for StreamYard the other day. I was just Googling because I was checking out some different stuff, and I Googled StreamYard, and the top ad was for Restream, and they had put the keywords better than StreamYard. And that came up above StreamYard's link. I was like, oh my gosh, like these sponsors. It's just how they do it nowadays. They just sponsor like that. But I do think that if they got enough dominance, like Google wasn't like that always in the beginning, right? They weren't just putting ads everywhere, would be my assumption. They built dominance and then they put them there. And if an AI got to that point, I think that they could do it as well. I also just think that the one other thing that, is probably very true for older generations, maybe less true for younger, and I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle. Even when you have these aggregators and, an AI tool, I sometimes still like to actually just go and see all the options and see the data, which is something that Google still kind of offers. So it's like, if I want to look up flights, even still, I often won't even use Google Flights sometimes, because I'll literally just go to every site and be like, I want to see all the options for myself. And AI kind of skips that step. And I wonder if that's something that's just, holding on to the remnants and will fade out. Curious if you guys think that way at all.
Well, the issue is I don't fully trust AI with a lot of when I need answers for things, right? For instance, I asked AI, I want to buy a domain of this category. Can you please search through these list of 100 domains and let me know which ones are available? And it just made up which ones are available. It just totally pulled it out of its ass that these ones are available and these ones are taken. And it's okay, so how can I trust this with any sort of real answer based in reality? I love AI when it comes to coding or when it comes to guidance on logic, but when it comes to facts, what is the best of this, or is this happening right now? It's just not there yet. I think it's that way for a lot of people. And so I think Google still has a longer bridge than we think when it comes to search to get to whatever the next stage is than we think. I think there's still going to be an absolutely tremendous amount of people searching and getting money, making money through ads for a very long time.
Well, you can't search Google for, which of those domains is available either, right? You're right that it's not fact checking itself yet, and it doesn't know how to call APIs in the background and stuff. But, you don't have an alternate way to do that yet. And soon that's going to get a lot better, right? Like there is absolutely a way where you could train the AI to go like, oh, I just told you that this URL is available. Maybe I should check and see if it's actually available before I answer that to you. That's not something that's impossible to program, right? So like they are doing those things. That's what deepthink is, and that's what deep search is. And like we're early versions of it, but it's going to get a lot better. And I really do think that it's going to become like the ubiquitous way that people find information is through these AIs. And maybe at some point they'll sell ads. But I just think that the way that the information is transmitted is going to be via voice more than text in the future. I really do think that that's the direction that these interfaces are going. And I think it's harder to put ads in voice. Like people hate radio ads and podcast ads and video ads. And
I think you're always going to need to have like a majority text-based version though, just because people use these devices in so many places that might have, you might be in a stadium, right? With a lot of sound around you. You might be in like have like calls in the back. You might not want people to know what you're trying to search up, right? Like you might be around other people. So I think that there's always going to be a pretty significant text-based interface. But of course I like the voice as well. Hey, real quick, let's pull up, Evan, if you can pull this up inside of Sam's article, the Google earnings recap that he did. So we can just take a look at the revenue breakdown for a second and show people the breakdown here. It's you can click into this. Yeah, if you click on it, it pulls it up. Perfect. So just taking a look here, obviously search is a behemoth when it comes to their actual revenue, right? You can see it dwarfs, it's 5 times as much as their YouTube ads, 6 times as much as the network ads. And then you can see obviously, cloud's coming along, but it's still almost, 4.5 times as big as cloud right there. So it still is such a large portion of everything that they do in comparison. So if you were to start slipping there, that'd be a pretty big cause for concern, in my opinion, especially when you look at cloud and you have so many massive competitors, right? That's not your area of specialty. It's always been search. Your dominance is search. That's what matters. And then YouTube, I do wonder if that could continue. I actually personally was a little bit surprised because I thought YouTube was a bigger percentage compared to search, but it's still highly dwarfed by it. Curious what you guys think when you look at this graphic.
I think that actually cloud will continue to be a really, really good one for them despite the competition, because I think that data centers and energy are going to be billions worth of investment over the next 5 or 10 years. I think it's just going to be absolutely insane growth in data centers. And I think that, Google will diversify into creating AI data centers, not just compute data centers. And I think that's going to be really good for them and Amazon and otherwise. I don't think YouTube is going anywhere, but I do think that it is really interesting when you compare it. Just even though there's so much money in YouTube ads and there's so many people getting rich creating YouTube channels, still it's absolutely nothing compared to their search. So I really do think that they desperately need to figure out a way to not just keep their search market share, but to keep it monetized, to keep it high profit margin. Because even if they're just running AI, showing the same ads and keeping the same data center, their costs or their market share, their costs still just went like through the roof. On search, and that's going to cut into their margins significantly. So it should be interesting to see how they solve that problem. I think their data centers is going to be one of the best ways for them, the cloud for sure.
Yeah, they're so diversified too. They have so many different ways they're making revenue. And yes, search is such a big part of it. But I mean, like YouTube is such a Goliath. I mean, that's pretty much a monopoly when it comes to online media. Right, half the internet, half the data that goes through the internet, it's YouTube, and they probably have a. Yeah, I think that is the stat. Let me validate that stat. Could have just completely pulled that out.
Probably Gemini told you that, didn't it?
On the internet, and by the way, I'm googling this. Half the data on the internet goes through YouTube. Let's see what happens when I search that. Video traffic accounts for 65%. Excuse me, what? What's that?
I said you forgot when you're talking about 50% of internet traffic, you must have forgot about Pornhub. I think porn is like even bigger than YouTube in terms of traffic, isn't it?
I don't know. I wouldn't know. Maybe you would know, Penny.
That didn't make it into his research.
Maybe I would know. I do know that that porn drives technology, right? Like if you think about even how they chose between the different VCR types back 25 years ago was like which one got adopted by porn. That's the same way that they chose DVD and Blu-rays, right? It's like which one did that took that direction. It's really interesting. You wouldn't think of it, but so much money and energy goes through getting naked people on the internet.
Shout out porn.
Shout out Ron Jeremy. There you go. Moving the industry forward. Hey, a couple other quick notes. These were data points that I got from Grok. So maybe, again, everything in this episode, maybe you guys have to double check. We're obviously leaning into AI for the purposes of this, but at least Grok does sort its stuff, which I do like. But these were a couple things I thought were interesting. So I talked about how Gen Z and Gen Alpha have moved over to using platforms like Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Reddit for search over Google, even though for Reddit, I feel like a lot of people still go through Google and then go to Reddit. So whatever it is, but that's 40% of Gen Z and Gen Alpha have shifted over to using those platforms with a 9% decline in initial queries on traditional search engines. So that means that a lot of them are, I guess, 9% less in the last year are even going through Google to get to Reddit and get to other places like that. So I think that was pretty big. There was also some discussion about Google facing, remedies from the 2024 DOJ antitrust ruling. There were some proposals there to share search index and user data with competitors or even sell Android. I don't think that that's going to end up happening. It was just something that was floated around a lot last year. And their ad share market erosion, right? Their US search ad market share is projected to fall below 50% in 2025, down from 90%, by the way, 10 years ago. Amazon now has 22.3%, and TikTok is apparently gaining ground via search engine campaigns, search ad campaigns as well. So those are all the things that are, I suppose, you look at it and say, okay, those are why it could be declining. But at the same time, I think you guys make a lot of good points as well as to, why it could be sticking around. They're still processing 5 trillion searches a year right now. That's 14 billion a day at the moment, which was 373 times more than ChatGPT's daily prompts right there. So they're still obviously, that's ChatGPT daily prompts, by the way, had 0.25% of market share in regards to search prompts. So it's still like dwarfing these pieces. I guess we're just looking into the future and saying, hey, we look 5-10 years out at these companies. Is there a meeting point? Can Google just keep rising? Because I still feel very bullish on it, but I try to at least acknowledge the potential downsides.
Why do you think young people are changing their search behavior? What is it do you think is driving that?
So I mentioned it a little bit beforehand, but one of the things is real-time information. I do feel like it takes time for things to show up on Google because Google is still pulling their sourcing from traditional news and media sources. So even the fast ones, like a Daily Mail or something like that, they're still taking at a minimum, I guess, would be 30 to 45 minutes to get an actual article up. And that's typically because you have to have someone who sees that something happened, writes an article, runs it by an editor, publishes it, and it gets picked up into Google's algorithm. And so you just have a longer time period. So I think for real-time things, we've just moved over to using X. I'm never going to, in the moment, if I need analysis on something, use Google. It's just not how I would do it. I would do it really the day after. And then even some of the things that are more real-time, like when the draft happened and I wanted draft grades, right? I still didn't necessarily go to Google that. I went to ESPN directly. I was like, all right, they'll have the article up first there on ESPN. It'll be harder to find on Google. In regards to TikTok, that's maybe even the gen below me, but I could see why they're moving over there because it's kind of like when Snapchat had a moment there with Snap Maps where it was like, oh, what's happening in the world? I can just pull up Snapchat and it'll show me where things are happening in real time. I can click into any area. I still occasionally do that. If I'm wondering, what's going on right now, in this area at this festival or something, I can click on the maps and it'll pull stuff up. So I think that the difference is how quick it is and in real time. And then I'll be honest, it's also just having the sourced opinions from everyday people versus a professional writer. And that's why Reddit is so big still, right? It's Reddit. You can go in and you can hear real people's life experiences. It's not like these curated articles where they're all just hidden ads to plug their products that they have affiliate codes for.
So you're still going into Snapchat?
I still use Snapchat every day. I wouldn't say that
You use Snapchat every day?
I would say at least 4 or 5 days a week. I use Snapchat.
What are you doing in Snapchat 4 to 5 days a week?
Probably using it for less than 5 minutes a day. I use Snapchat just for, video communication with friends. I'm in a few group chats, I would say, that still stay pretty active. It's just
you have group chats active in Snapchat?
I have active group chats in Snapchat, random tidbits of friends' lives, things going on, stuff that can get sent, memes, jokes. I don't know. It's just an easy way if you want to send some video.
Snapchat's one of those things where the moment you get off it and you don't send any messages for like 2 weeks, you're going to be like, why the hell was I using that app? That's insane. I used that app like regularly.
No, because I use it a lot less. Like I used to be the type of person that had like 10 streaks, and it was like, I got to keep the streak. And I had like years of streaks, and I just don't have that anymore. I maybe have one streak now. And I think it's because the person, every time we lose it, they keep buying it back from their end.
It's like Facebook. When I was on Facebook, I thought, man, Facebook, this place sucks. But like, if I get off this, I can't get off this. Facebook's so important. I can't get off Facebook. And then you get off of it, and 2 weeks later, you're like, holy crap, I spent any amount of time on that platform whatsoever. Like, that's what's going to happen to you when you get off Snapchat.
Well, it's just because these platforms have that one little thing that hooks you in. So like Facebook, it's like, oh, that's people's birthdays. And I'm just checking it to see like, okay, maybe it's some of my friends' birthdays. I don't wish them a happy birthday on Facebook anymore. I just message them. But it's like cool that everybody has their stuff in their Snapchat. It's like, oh, I can do these like quick little snippets of video and stuff like that. It's just like these little things that don't really work on other platforms.
And the moment you stop doing those little snippets of video, you're going to go, wow, I cared about little snippets of video. That's crazy.
They're fun. I don't know. Some of us enjoy life.
I enjoy life. Are you kidding me?
It's cool. It's like, it's actually being social on social media. Who does that anymore?
You're right. Nobody. Why would you want to be social on social media? That's insane. There's crazy people on the internet.
They had better ideas. I don't know. Alex, you use any TikTok?
No.
Do you have it on your phone?
I do. In case I need to do, I do it for research for my YouTube channel. So I look for AI videos for mine, but I'm not like, you'll never catch me dead just doom scrolling TikTok. It'll be like, okay, I got to see what people are saying about DeepSeek so I can make my own short form version of that.
I like TikTok because I think that, well, it's obviously your curated feed, but the reason that I enjoy it is because I think that they have one of the most powerful algorithms out there. Their algorithm just directly feeds like the things that trigger your brain neurons. And
it's cancer.
Yeah.
Short form video is cancer.
Truly next level. Number 2, I would say on TikTok. Well, it's just within that. Number 2, I think people put like an insane amount of time into some of the stuff that they edit and upload to this platform. And it's just like, whoa, it just like blows my mind sometimes. With the sports edit specifically, I feel like that's half my stuff. It just really blows my mind. I don't know. I don't spend a ton of time scrolling on these.
So you spend time on TikTok, Snapchat. How do you, what do you do anything else? How do you do anything else?
Okay. I said I spent like 2 minutes a day on Snapchat.
Okay.
TikTok, I would say I mostly watch TikTok when I'm at the gym working out in between sets. That's probably like my most viewed time of TikTok. I sit down, catch a minute in between sets.
If you're looking at TikToks between sets, you're not working out.
I don't know, bro. I don't know. I think I can lift heavier than you. So I wouldn't roll that way.
That's because you're on steroids.
Yeah, the TikTok steroids, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Injected in my blood.
Because you're on drugs.
Edits. I'm on steroids that the Puerto Rican doctors just prescribed when I told them I knew.
Why do you think this guy moved to Puerto Rico?
Easy access.
Yes.
No, all natty. All right, wait, real quick. Let's switch a little, talk about the pros here of Google, the case for their resilience. So obviously I went through already the fact that when we look at ChatGPT, it just didn't even hold a candle to its market share. Number 2, their ecosystem is what we like to call locked in. Google's Chrome, 67.5% browser market share. Android, 70% of mobile OS share right now. People think Apple's the whole world, but it's really just the US for the most part. And then their default search agreements with Safari and Firefox cover another 88% of browser access points as of November 2024. So basically, everybody is locked into the Google ecosystem right now through one deal or another. Number 2, they also are working on AI, of course, themselves. Their AI overviews reached over 1 billion users monthly by the end of last year. So that's pretty crazy. The fact that there's a billion users that are getting, in some way, shape, or form interacting with Gemini. Obviously, this can just be by doing a basic Google search that then goes through. And yeah, they're still controlling nearly 90% of global market search. They denied the accusations that they had that first drop in, whatever it was, 10 years that Apple had on Safari. So yeah, overall, I mean, it just feels like there's very high barriers to entry for others to come in and take this over. They're a verb. They come download it on your phone. So I don't know. To me, it still feels like there's pretty bullishness here. It just is a question of, do we go down the path that happened with Apple, where you started to stagnate, but you're still so locked in to the ecosystem that people can't say, oh, well, this is not going to work. It's not terribly different. Evan, maybe you could pull up real quick on Earnings Hub, the two of them. If you could pull up Google and show the revenue and EPS, and then Apple and show the revenue and EPS. Maybe do Apple first so people can understand, because Apple, obviously, it's truly stagnated. And then I wonder if Google could be going into a similar pattern.
I want to see R&D on that as well, if it's possible to add it, because I got this sneaky feeling that there's like a very different distribution of R&D at Google versus Apple. If you think about Apple, like what they've innovated on over the past couple decades is supply chains and how do they get the highest profits? But they really haven't innovated from a technology perspective. They don't have labs in the same sense that Google does, right? Like, I really think that you can't even compare these two companies. If Apple loses its iPhone dominance, what do they fall back on? Like, what have they been investing in? And I don't know that I can answer that question, where, they are extremely locked in this, but probably more so than Google, right? Like, I would have a harder time exiting the Apple ecosystem than I would Google. But at a certain point, someone is going to make a better ecosystem, and it might be Google that does it, especially because they already have 70% of phone market share, right? So I think that they do sort of still own the internet access points. And I think that's huge. They, right now they own it more in the third world, where like you can't monetize it quite as well. Like, I'm sure Apple makes more off of iPhones in the United States than Android does off of every other phone in the rest of the world put together. But yeah, I don't think they're in the same boat.
Look at that! Wow, Google's spending way more on R&D.
Yeah, here's the difference. One company is innovating, the other isn't. Right? Google's innovating continuously when it comes to AI. They're continuously purchasing companies that are innovating, and Apple hasn't innovated anything since the M1 chip. There's been nothing innovative since. One clearly cares about innovation and clearly has a vision. And this is probably the more important part. Google has a vision. Apple doesn't have a vision. There's clearly no coherent vision for Apple whatsoever. What's the vision?
Yeah.
Well, they have one singular vision behind AI, Google. Apple doesn't have a vision. They keep changing what Siri is. They keep changing what Apple Intelligence is. And that's because they have 20 different visions. And when you have 20 quarterbacks on a team, you don't have any quarterbacks. You just need one quarterback.
Browns,
right?
Huh?
And Google has one quarterback. Apple has 20, clearly. And when you have 20, you don't have any.
So it's like the Browns versus the Patriots with Drake May.
The Apple is the Browns of the tech world, and Google is the Patriots. Yes.
There you go. I don't know, by the way, real quick, Evan, you shared it for a second there, but I just wanted to show people so they could see on the chart. You pulled up that Apple revenue first, which was perfect. If you could show that one more time. Yeah. So there you go. So you can see Apple. It's basically, I guess it's supposedly a record there, but it's not very much moving over the last 4 or 5 years. And then Google, it's just consistently moving upwards. And so this is kind of the thing that I would want to look at. And then you guys made the good points with R&D. So yeah, this is great. This is perfect. Appreciate it. Okay. A lot of good points. All right. So Penny, any other thoughts from your end as to why Google is going to stick around? They are going to stay strong and they don't have to worry.
Well, I think they've been recruiting great engineers for a long time. I think that they are leading in AI right now. And if I were going to place my bets on any companies, it would be people who are leading in AI. I mean, I think that demonstrates a lot of different things all at once. It's a vision. It's the ability to recruit good people. It means that you have actually the like infrastructure to train your models and things like that too. I think Google has a lot going for it. I think it's a really well-rounded company, and I think they've served themselves extremely well by investing in research and development, the profits that they've made from search over the past few decades. Like, nothing lasts forever, and you need to build what's next. And I think they never lost sight of that. And, a lot of those things were like really super long-term investments, and some of them may never pay off, but the ones that do are going to carry Google into the future. And my sense is that they're not going anywhere. I do think that there will be a consolidation of companies in the future. I think there's going to be more behemoth businesses and fewer small businesses, but I think Google is going to remain right up there throughout all of it, is my sense.
Alex, do you feel pretty confident in them?
In Google, yeah, I do. They just have they have the money, the processing, the compute behind them. They have the people, the brain power. From an execution standpoint, they haven't executed as well up to this point. But if you look at Polymarket, which I trust with pretty much everything, they are monster favorites for by the end of May having the best AI model.
Really?
So clear, yeah. If you want to pull up the Polymarket there, Polymarket.
How do you measure that, by the way? Best AI model?
Doesn't matter. It's just what people are betting on. I don't know. Yeah, 82%.
Massive favorites. Jesus.
Massive favorites. And so clearly the betting power is behind them as well. Which one has the highest arena score based on the chatbot LLM leaderboard? So which one has
XAI? Wow, so they've got XAI way above OpenAI as well.
I think it's because there's still some chance that 3.5 comes out before the end of the month.
So massive favorites. The betting money's behind them. And so typically the betting money's correct.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing, like, what we have with Polymarket now? Nothing like that has ever existed before. And it really is proving to be accurate because people have to put their money where their mouth is.
Shout out Robinhood. We'll have it soon and beat them.
Well, they do have some prediction markets. Slightly differently put together, but it's pretty cool to see them there. Speaking of which, I know that Evan's got Robinhood Knicks to Eastern Conference Finals championship. What do you got, Evan? Pretty good odds on it, whatever it is.
Who here is a Knicks fan? Or are you just doing that to piss me off?
No, what are you talking about? Evan's a huge Knicks fan.
Evan's a Knicks fan? Is that made up?
Yeah, I mean, he is from New York, so surprise.
I feel like Evan just chooses whatever weird, scummy team to root for at that moment. Men's Pro Basketball Eastern Conference Finals. That's a joke. That's funny.
He's up 200. A couple $100 buckaroos.
Let's see what these odds look like after Friday night.
Let's see it. Hey, real quick, let's just talk leadership for a second. We spent a lot of time talking about Tim Cook on our Apple is Dead episode, and it seems like you guys weren't too bullish on him and his vision. I feel like people have slightly more positive views of Sundar Pichai. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, he's innovating, and I think his message is clearly behind innovation. It seems with like Tim Cook, everything that's happened under him at Apple, which, yes, I mean, he's doing his job, which is increasing shareholder value. So that's props to him on doing that. But like, what are innovative products that dropped under him? Like the Apple Watch Vision Pro, I actually think is fantastic. But like, it doesn't feel like there's been this, again, one vision behind everything that pushes the entire company forward. It feels like it's been a lot of clashing visions at the same time. So I don't know. It seems like Sundar has a vision.
Fun fact. Did you know that he wasn't, Sundar Pichai is not his birth name, but it's actually flipped around, and his real birth name, his name is Pichai Sundarajan. And then they Americanized it and made it Sundar Pichai, but it's just his name flipped around.
Is that Americanized?
It's like if we called you Finn Alexander.
That doesn't feel any more or less Americanized.
Yeah, that doesn't feel Americanized.
I just thought it was funny. I was like, interesting. Took his first name and last name and just flipped them. But yeah, one of the reasons, I guess, to be honest, funny enough, I've never really done like a whole deep dive into the background of Tim Cook. and gone through all of the different pieces. I know that he was the COO. I do wonder, so Sundar was the chief product officer before becoming CEO, and Tim Cook was an operations guy before becoming CEO. And I wonder if that led to very big differences in vision.
100%. That's, Alex said the word visionary like 50 times, right? And I think that that's so super important from a CEO. I think that it's important that one vision leads, right? And if you have like one accountant lead, okay, great. You're going to have really great accounting, but you're not going to have that vision, and you're going to rely on all of your different officers to have visions, and each of those officers is going to have their own vision, and they're going to clash to some extent. It's not going to lead you to the promised land in the same way that if you have someone at the head of the table with a vision, then they can direct everything and make sure that all of the different paths lead to the same place, which is victory at that vision, right? And I think it's just so absolutely important that you have a product-based leader. I think that it's a huge mistake. And I think that Tim Cook at Apple will be like a perfect case study for how to destroy an innovative company and make a lot of money in the process.
That was fire. 100% agree. That was, I'm ready to go. Woo. That was good, man. Yeah, 100%. It's why Elon's companies do so well. Is every company Elon is, he's the visionary. He's the guy behind it. He only assembles people behind him who like buy into that vision and want to push it forward. It doesn't seem like Apple kind of goes by that philosophy. They go more for kind of that middle management style, right? That I feel like is kind of fading now. Like that was kind of popping off in 2020 when tech company was hiring as many middle managers as they can. And I feel like there was this kind of awakening over the last few years where the companies realized, oh shit, like this just doesn't work. Like adding as many people as you can, having tons of middle management and layers and a flat hierarchy just doesn't work. You need someone with a vision and then people who buy into that vision. And I feel like the entire tech industry kind of has 180'd overnight, and Apple is just slow to react to that. Like you saw this with Microsoft. Microsoft yesterday fired, I think, 7,000 people, and they're basically all middle managers. Is everyone they fired from across the world.
Like, what's the middle manager doing, right?
I was a middle manager. Thank God I made Creator Buddy while I was a middle manager so I can quit being a middle manager before I got fired. Middle managers sit there and just make sure the people doing the actual work are doing work.
What a blessed life.
I'm a people person.
It was a blessed life.
You guys don't own any Google stock, would be my guess, because Alex, you own like 2 stocks and Penny, you own 1, right? I
own Tesla and Robinhood.
Got it. Very, very big conviction guys over here. Not big on diversification.
No, if I got a vision, I believe in that vision. Diversify, I might as well just buy the S&P. You're asking for mediocrity. Yeah, I know what I believe in is going to do well, so I'm going all the way in.
Interesting.
In my past life, I've picked very few stocks, and all of them have just been incredible winners. So my strategy is focus on my vision for the future and, find an innovative CEO, find a product-based CEO that like shares that vision, and it pays off really well for me. So I don't own any Google stock because I just have so much conviction in Elon and his vision.
Checks out. Yeah, I own both. I'm a fan of both companies. And then I also have some of the S&P 500 where it owns top 500 companies. So perhaps maybe I need a little bit more conviction. We'll see. All right. Really fun time here, guys. I think we made the case for both sides. It seems like the case is Google is not dead. Seems to be the rising outcome here. But for me, I definitely just want to see over these next 5 years how much people gravitate towards using AI as a direct replacement for search. And if the younger generation continues to move to social media rather than Googling things in order to get their answers, put those things together and, maybe Google just forays into those areas and captures more of those markets. Not certain, but excited to see. Penny, any other comments for today's show?
That's it. Another fun one.
Good times. Alex, fired up? Anything else?
Never been more fight ups. Celtics in 7.
Celtics in 7. There you go. Ask Google the odds on that one. We shall see. Hey, do we have a poly market on that one?
Sure we do.
Do they have one? What does it say right now?
There's gotta be.
I feel like it's got to be closer after that other night. So keep an eye out.
Last night after we absolutely dominated them.
Knicks Celtics, baby. Series of our lifetime. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We are going to be covering more of these. We're going to be covering more of these companies in the coming weeks. Big one coming next week. Keep your eyes and ears peeled for it. Thank you for tuning in to Tech and Tea. As always, subscribe if you haven't yet. Smash that subscribe button, the follow button. We'll see you on the next one.
Like.
Take care. And like.
Let's go.
Don't forget to like.
And reply. There's any engagement you see, engage with it. So we get more views.
Reply. Follow.